Welcome, welcome. This is Mountain Dew, teaching and learning through the Appalachian Trail. My name is Stacey Schneider. I am a professor of history here at Thomas Nelson Community College, and I'm embarking on a 30-day trip through the Appalachian Trail in Virginia. And I am so lucky to have experts here with me today. They're going to teach me all of everything I need to know. I have joined me Lucinda Spryn, chemistry professor here at Thomas Nelson. I've got Kimberly Zahn, biology professor here at Thomas Nelson, and Lindsay Lemay, who is our geology professor. Say hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
So I've got this all women gang of professors here. You're going to lead me through. You're going to take me through the Appalachian Trail and tell me what I need to know. I guess let me start by just saying kind of what the point of the project is. My sister and I came up with this idea. Really, it was kind of a combination of a lot of things. It was something that my dad had talked about doing and hiking the Appalachian Trail with his girls. It was kind of a life transition. You know, COVID has driven everybody crazy, and I think it drove me outdoors. So I started walking and hiking and taking the dog, and it was kind of really good for my mind. So I started that in last March. It's also probably part of a midlife crisis, in honesty. I'm in my mid-40s. My sister is in her early 40s. And we kind of figured if we don't do it now, it's not going to happen. So that's probably part of it. And the other thing was, really, truly, I work with the smartest people I know every single day. And I'm a history person, right? So I love literature and English and history, and that's kind of my bag. What I don't really know about, and I'll confess to my shortcoming, is science. It is not my thing. It really is not. I know all of you are experts and you love science, but I am willing to say I don't know much about that. So we're going to hike the trail, and I'm going to really rely on the folks here to kind of tell me what I need to know. I will tell you from a physical standpoint, we have been training for this, so you don't have to worry about that. We definitely have been working on that. But the rest of the stuff, I kind of leave to you. I've never really hiked before. I've never really camped before. So I am in your hands. So I guess we can start. Let's start with Kim Zahn, right? Biologist Kim Zahn.
Yeah.
Tell me what I need to know. I'm going out on this trail. Help me to survive.
Okay, help you to survive. Well, in terms of the plants and animals that you're going to encounter, for the most part, it's not going to be much different than what you see around here. So same old white-tailed deer, squirrels, lots and lots of birds. If you are into birds, I definitely recommend getting like a field guide for birds because there are way too many to mention. In terms of plants, I mean, just the oak forest, you know, so very little differences. I mean, there's some mountain flora that you're going to see, but what I've tried to do is kind of focus on things that maybe you should be on the lookout for and things that are very different. So in terms of things that you could encounter that you might need to be wary of, obviously the number one is black bears. Of everything that I have here, black bears are probably the one thing that you are most likely to encounter. In terms of cat or like large cats or like coyotes, the wild cat here is the lynx, so a bobcat, and they're really small. Bobcats don't attack really. They only get to be about 30 pounds. So we're talking large house cat. So
let me ask you, so I'm going to have my dogs with me.
Yep. So,
and what advice would you give me? Are they going to attack my dogs?
They would, not a bobcat, I don't think. A coyote might, and you might come across a coyote as well. And then the other thing that would be of kind of the greatest concern, though highly unlikely, is a cougar. So the thinking is that the cougars aren't really in this area anymore. It's a huge, it's up for huge debate. So there's been lots of unconfirmed sightings of cougars in the mountains, but it's really, nobody's really even sure if they're here. So if they are, probably really low numbers. And then again, coyotes and foxes, you're not gonna have any problems with foxes. So I would say with the dogs, coyotes would be your biggest thing, and the bears. Okay. So because the bear is going to probably be the thing that you most are likely to come in on contact with, I have lots of information here.
Okay. So I've been to camping and hiking stores. They've got bear spray. There's bells that you can wear to drive away the bears. Are either of these going to save me?
I think that of those things, I think sprays and those kinds of olfactory repellents are probably your best bet. But they're just out there. Black bears are not true hibernators, so you can't expect them to be in den in November. You're going in November, right? October.
Yeah.
Okay. So they enter their dens between October and November, but they're not true hibernators, so they still remain fairly active, and they can be roused out of their den pretty easily. So don't expect all the bears to be sleeping.
Okay, so let me ask you this. We happen across a bear on the trail, right? Mm-hmm. What am I going to do?
Well, it just depends. Black bears, much different than grizzly bears, are pretty docile and fairly tolerant of humans. They're really shy. If it is just a normal bear, they're likely to walk away from you before you would even see it or climb a tree. Your biggest problem here is mothers with cubs.
Okay.
At that time, mothers have their cubs in den in February. And they'll still be fairly young in October. So there will be mothers with cubs, and mothers keep their cubs until they mate again every other year. So any mother out there is going to have her cub with you, with her. So that is your biggest.
Okay. And she's going to be very protective.
Very protective, very aggressive. So that is you just have to be like hyper vigilant. You just have to just be aware. But other than that, the bear shouldn't be much of a concern. You don't want to track them to your campsite with food. You want to make sure that you look up all the things you need to do to keep the campsite safe.
Okay.
And any kind of deterrent that seems to get some good reviews, I would go for.
Okay.
Sometimes even something simple as pepper spray. To have like that might work.
Okay. I'm haunted by that scene in The Revenant in my mind.
But that's a grizzly bear.
Well, look, I told you I'm a historian. I don't know, but all I know is I don't need that Leo DiCaprio.
Black bears only get to be about 100, 120 pounds. So, we're not talking large bears here.
Okay.
So, again, they're going to be much smaller than you would expect them to be. But, again, a mother with a cub is going to be quite dangerous. So I would say that's your biggest kind of thing that you need to be most vigilant.
And it seems like prevention, there are some common sense preventions here, right?
Absolutely.
About food. And I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, I've heard that the black bears are addicted to Snickers bars.
Oh, they don't eat anything.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
I've heard that lots of hikers, through hikers and section hikers take Snickers, right? You're hungry, you need a little treat, and that in the Shenandoah Valley, in the Shenandoah National Park, they are absolutely addicted to Snickers
they're
bars.
habituated to what, they're habituated.
Yes,
so,
yes.
So that's your number one concern. Another concern is venomous snakes.
Okay.
So you're in the mountains, you're venomous snakes. We only have 3 species of venomous snakes in Virginia: the timber rattlesnake, the copperhead, and the water moccasin. In the mountains, there will be no water moccasins. Okay, so you only have to worry about the copperhead and the timber rattler. Copperhead bites are, serious, but they rarely kill. They're of the bites, they're not that, you have to get medical attention, but they're not going to kill you. The rattlesnake, that's a little bit of a different story. Rattlesnake's not good. And they will be active in November. So you just, my best advice there is they're going to see you before you see them.
Okay.
Snakes do not come after you, no matter what you see on the internet. They are not aggressive at all. My biggest advice is to watch where you're putting your feet.
Okay.
Watch where you're stepping.
And I know a lot of people recommend boots.
Yes.
I'm actually, Kim, I'm going to disappoint you. So I'm not going to do boots. I'm doing trail running shoes.
Well, that's okay. And you can get, if you want to do those, but you can get like guards for your shins as well.
Oh, really?
So you got snake boots, but if you don't want to do snake boots, you can get like snake bite guards.
Okay. Is there anything I need to carry in that pack? Like, here's what I've realized. Every single thing in that pack, and I'm watching it mount, like my pack is on my kitchen table, and as Amazon delivers every day, the pile is mounting. And don't think I don't realize everything that goes in that pack, I have to carry on my back, right? So the dogs are training. They have their own little packs because I love them, but they got to carry their own food and water.
Well,
I can't do that.
There's nothing you can put in that pack that's going to save you from a snake bite.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. So I was going to ask you, there are, you know, these like snake bite kits and things. Don't waste my energy carrying it, and don't waste my money, is what you're saying.
So what you need to do is have a snake bite plan. If somebody gets bitten by a venomous snake, what is your plan of action?
Well, I don't know. What is my plan of action?
I know that's
you
need to figure that out.
Thank God you're here.
You need to figure that out. So I mean, so basically what you need to be aware of, where the ranger stations, depending on where you are, how quickly can you get out, how quickly can you get medical attention, and how you can get in contact with people if you need to.
So look, in the old movies, when they like take a, you know, like a dirty knife out and they make the X and they suck the venom and spit it out, that's not the plan.
No, that's not the plan.
That's a bad plan.
I mean, the venom that entered your bloodstream as soon as the snake has bitten you, that does not work.
Okay. All right, good tip.
Yeah. Any snake that you see likely will be non-venomous.
Okay.
And non-venomous snakes look just like venomous snakes on purpose. They have very, very similar coloration patterns. Don't get close enough to figure out whether it's a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake.
I am so down with that.
Right,
Yeah.
But just to give you kind of a heads up, all of these venomous snakes of Virginia are pit vipers. So their pupils will be cat-like. Their pupils will be slits.
Okay.
A venomous snake's eyes pupils is a slit. A non-venomous is circular like ours.
Okay.
Okay. A pit viper has very large triangular head.
Okay.
And they tend
is it like an arrowhead?
Yeah.
I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah, and they tend to be very thick bodied. Whereas non-venomous snakes had a more kind of aerodynamic looking head and tend to be much longer and more slender.
Okay. This is good information I hope I never have to use, by the way.
Right. The other thing is to be aware that many of the non-venomous snakes in the, that you'll come in contact with, like the water snake, king snake, the black rat snake, they all whack their tails in the leaves to mimic the rattle, because what they're trying to do is scare off predators.
Oh.
So just because you hear
don't get super freaked out. Like, be aware and be smart, but don't panic.
Don't panic, because almost all of these snakes mimic the rattle by slapping the ends of their tails in the leaf litter to mimic that rattling sound.
That is fascinating. Okay.
So, and any snake you see in the water is not going to be venomous. There are no water moccasins in that area of Virginia. That's going to be nothing more than a brown water snake.
Okay.
And if you get bitten by a non-venomous snake, I mean, just clean it like a normal snake bite, or a wound like a normal snake bite. A wound like a normal insect bite. You know, you just want to make sure that you keep the area clean and like antibiotics, that kind of thing. But and other than that, I said those are your biggest worries: snakes and black bears. Just kind of a side note here of all the like little fauna. My favorite thing that you might come in contact with is chipmunks. You don't have chipmunks around here.
That's so sweet. Okay.
So you'll have the same kind of rodent populations, beavers, gray and red squirrels, but you might actually come across some chipmunks.
How about this? Let me ask you this. When it comes to the flora, I don't think we're doing any foraging. I think I'll be foraging at 7-Eleven for powdered donuts is what I really think. But
I wouldn't bother.
Don't bother. Okay, don't bother.
I wouldn't bother because there's so many more poisonous plants out there than there are edible plants. But you really have to have a significant amount of knowledge to differentiate what's edible and what's not edible. And the last thing you want to do is eat a poisonous plant. You'll be ill for days. You don't want to do that.
And then it sounds like I'll take a hard pass on that.
Yeah, hard pass. Hard pass on the foraging. Okay. Yes. So in terms of things that you can come in contact with the plants, I mean, there's nothing more dangerous out there than here, poison oak, poison ivy, and poison sumac, you know, in terms of causing some dermatitis or some rashes. So that would take some cortisone or something. But other than that, and then the last thing I just wanted to mention in terms of the plants is, again, the forest and the plants aren't going to be much different than you see around here. There will probably be lots of wildflowers, but the one thing that's really cool about the mountains is all of the large rhododendrons. Huge, huge stands of wild rhododendrons. They're an evergreen, kind of really thick, leaved, large shrub bush that grows almost like as tall as trees, right? They're gorgeous. The only issue here is they flower in June, so you won't be able to see any of that. But large, large stands of rhododendron is kind of my favorite thing about the mountains in terms of the plant life. So,
okay. Well, thank you. That is super informative. I've got some first aid advice and everything else. Okay, let me hop to our hiker that's with us, Lucinda Spryn, our chemistry professor.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I know. I am just realized we're going to be doing several podcasts together. And
aren't you excited?
Huh?
Aren't you excited?
I am so psyched to be like hiking from the comfort of my easy chair. What could be better, right?
You gotta show your boots.
But I am dressed up. If you can't see me I got my kayaking hat, I got my waterproof clothing, I got my boots on. And that's kind of the stuff I want to talk to you about, is because a lot of times you take a chemistry class and my students go, oh, I'm never going to use this. And then I go, how many people use a pressure cooker? How many people use a steam iron, right? And that's all chemistry. That's all physical laws. So what we're going to talk about is stuff like, hey, Stacey, are you taking any freeze-dried food with you?
Can I tell you, Lucinda?
Yeah.
I just went to the camping store and I was thinking, what do I really need after a hot, sweaty day of hiking? What's a little treat for me and my sister? And I bought, are you ready?
Yeah.
Freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches.
I know, right? I remember being a kid and going to the Smithsonian many years ago. That's what we all bought, the astronaut freeze-dried ice cream.
Right.
It was just like, but what does that mean, freeze-dried? So we can talk about that. What does that mean? Those are like, gas laws and all kinds of great chemical stuff.
Is it going to be delicious though? That's all I really care about.
Yeah, yummy. Like it's yummy. And but we can also talk about other things like, what kind of clothes are you taking, Stacey? Are you taking like clothes that are, have you ever gone to the store and you can go to Target and you can buy a $5 t-shirt, or you go to the camping store and there's a shirt there and it's $50.
Camping clothing is no joke. That's what I have learned. Camping clothing, the cost of camping clothing and like hiking clothing is no joke. I will be teaching overloads for the rest of my life to pay for this trip.
I know, and you're thinking to yourself, why is this so expensive? Should I just go to Target and buy stuff? Well, what makes clothing water wicking? What makes clothing, sweat absorbing, or what makes clothing UV resistant? And those are special kind of fibers that are different from the $5 Target t-shirt. And
I really have genuinely always wondered that. Isn't it just, I always just thought it was polyester. That's what it feels like.
No. I mean, they treat the fibers in different ways because, in chemistry, we have words like hydrophilic and hydrophobic. And some of these textiles have really been researched and manufactured and developed over time. This is a big deal. All this sweat wicking stuff, and they're not always cheap to make. And that's what you're paying for, these advanced fabrics. And sometimes, as you go on in time, certain things are patented. And then, if you notice, things start to come down in price because it's like anything else. It gets cheaper as it becomes more easily manufactured.
Gotcha.
So, but the clothing you wear, we can talk about, the physical properties that make, your clothes different and especially good for hiking. So there's all kinds of treatments in the way the fabric is woven. So we can
one of my main concerns, I will say, is water, right? And I have the Life Straw. I've got a gravity bag that's going to filter the water. What's the danger of just drinking water as we go?
You know what? It could be no danger. It could be a lot of danger. Would I recommend it? It would be no. Do you feel lucky? Remember that Clint Eastwood movie? Do you feel lucky? Whatever. But it's the same technology in your little Life Straw that we use in the lab.
Really?
Or you go to the store and you get deionized water, or you get distilled water. Is deionized water the same as distilled water? No. But are they both safe to drink? Yes.
Okay.
What's in that life straw? It's got different kinds of filters, and some of them are biological filters that the bacteria is going to be one of the worst things, right? And for you and your dogs.
Oh, I got a filter for the dogs. Okay.
Yeah, because, do your dogs have, what is that vaccine?
A lepto shot. No, but we're going.
Leptosporidium.
Yes, I researched that, and we're going this week to the vet, and they're both getting lepto shots.
Okay. Well, I've always given my dogs that because I recommend it for everybody, because my dog, God bless her, she will go out the driveway and find a puddle if it just rained and start drinking out of it. You know, anytime that dog can find a gross thing of water, she'll drink out of it. So always get your dog a lepto shot. That is like one of the best things you could do for your dog, because those parasites are no joke. They could kill your dog. But for you, it's the same thing. You need to drink something that goes through a biological filter, which is basically a size filter. It's just, you know, bacteria is big. It's much bigger than a virus. Okay, because, you know, we're all wearing masks now. We're doing the whole virus thing. Viruses are teeny tiny, and there's thousands of them in a cell. Bacteria are big. So your life straw, whatever you have with you, will filter out the bacteria. There's also another filter. Sometimes there's a charcoal filter. The charcoal is just to absorb impurities in the most general sense. But there's also an ion exchange resin. And that's a different kind of chemical process that takes different things in the water. Ions, which are charged particles, which might be calcium or magnesium or iron or sulfur. Have you ever smelled, like, if somebody went to Yellowstone and smelled the geysers, there's that sulfur water, and you're like, you know, sulfur water is gross, right?
Yes.
But if you drink it through these ion exchange resins, it will take out the gross ions you don't want, and it will add little ions that don't matter to you, that you drink all the time, sodium and chloride, like in salt.
Okay.
So we'll talk about water filtration.
Okay.
You know, we can also talk about, you know, water test kits, because let's say you're not sure, like maybe I'll just drink this water and not use my filter. There are test kits you can take along with you. I'm sure, did you see those at the store?
I have seen those at the store. I've seen those.
You know, and that's another thing. If you have a lot of water, like say you want to like load up on water for your dog or yourself, and you're like, well, maybe this water's okay and I don't need to use my filters. You can test it. You can test it for the bioburden. You can test it for like different things. And we can talk about test kits. Those are all good. But you will see as we go along that all this chemistry stuff we learn about, and we learn about, you know, hydrophobic and hydrophilic and dew point and ion exchange resins, and you go, who needs that? Well, you go to the camping store and you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. This is good stuff. So that's kind of the stuff that we're going to talk about. I mean, even something like sunscreen. I hope you're taking sunscreen.
Yes.
That would be yes.
I mean,
yes. And not a sunscreen, a giant hat like mine. Every time I get out on my kayak, I have this giant hat because, you know, sunscreen's important. What's in a sunscreen that works? We could talk about that. It's got special chemicals that absorb light at different frequencies. Okay, and it's the same thing as if you've ever put pine cones in the fire. And have you ever gotten those pine cones and sometimes you throw them in the fire and they can be blue or green or yellow? Have you ever done that, Stacey?
I have never done that, no.
Oh my gosh, you've missed so much. But you can buy
I've done that. Look, I've done it in a fireplace at like Christmas time. We used to burn our wrapping paper. And so I've done that. We throw wrapping paper and like, it depends on the wrapping paper, depends on the flames that come in the fire. Is that close to that?
That's exactly the same thing, is that all these chemicals absorb different types of energy. And that's the exact same thing as your sunscreen. So your sunscreen has got these special chemicals in it that absorb what kind of energy? The energy that is carcinogenic from the sun. So anyway, those are just some of the things that you're thinking, why would we talk about chemistry when we're hiking? That's why. I
got it. I'm right on top of that sunscreen, by the way.
You best be, girl.
I feel like you're blocking my tan. That's part of the goal here. Anyway, okay. Thank you. Chemistry is important.
Bet.
All right, we're on to the queen of rocks over here, Lindsay Lemay. So look, this is a very natural connection for you, and I know you're a hiker, and I'm sure you camp and all this kind of stuff. I feel like if you're a geologist, you kind of have to, right? Is that true?
I think there's some truth to that, for sure. It's really interesting, though, that not all geologists are field geologists, but I happen to be a field geologist. So I have spent a lot of time camping and hiking, and I have a very strong affinity for the Appalachian Mountains.
Really?
So I am super excited that you're doing this.
Are you, okay, so look, everyone here is invited to come out for a guest hike, by the way. I'm serious. And so far, lots and lots of women have volunteered that want to come out and hike for a day or two. And Lucinda, if she's coming, she's bringing steak and wine. That's what I heard.
Oh, well, maybe I should come when Lucinda comes.
You want steak?
All I've got is freeze-dried ice cream sandwiches. Probably not as good.
I don't know. When you're hiking,
Wine and ice cream sandwiches is perfectly fine.
So let's talk about what you're going to see.
Yes.
And that is glorious, glorious rocks. Something we don't get to see around here. So that's going to be really fun. And you're going to see some of the oldest rocks in our country. So out in the Appalachians, you're going to see some basement rocks that date back to about 1 billion years old. And what's also really cool is that the rocks that you're going to see record the building of North America. So as the continents were colliding millions of years ago and forming what was Pangea, that then rifted apart to make the continent of North America and the other continents that exist as we know today. All of that geologic history is recorded in the Appalachian Mountains. So you're going to see every type of rock there is, well, of the three major ones, 3 rock types, sedimentary, igneous, and metamorphic. So you'll be able to see rocks that show you the history from when parts of our country were completely underwater, to when there were some volcanoes, to when things were being smashed together and metamorphosed, and lots of faults. And you'll just get to see this whole history of North America as you're hiking along through Virginia.
Can I tell you, I am having a little bit of PTSD. I hate to admit it, but I had to take geology twice in college. I was at JVU. Took it twice. The only thing I remember is talc. That's it. The one that feels like baby powder. That's it. So break it down for me. Remind me what the rocks are. It's igneous, sedimentary,
and metamorphic.
Metamorphic. Okay.
You got it.
And those are?
So here's a quick way to think about it. Igneous rocks form as the result of lava or magma. So volcanoes that either erupt or don't erupt, and that magma stays under the ground.
So I'm not going to see that, right?
You will see some of those.
Oh, okay.
And those are going to be some of the oldest rocks that you see.
Oh, okay.
Sedimentary rocks, a way I think about it, is a bunch of junk stuck together.
Okay.
So then you have these rocks that have formed in the past, and over time they're weathered and eroded to break down into smaller pieces, and then those smaller pieces get stuck back together again. So you're going to see some of those too.
Okay.
And then the last category of rock is metamorphic rock. And you can think those are rocks that also existed, but then were transformed due to heat and pressure. Okay. And that could be the result of magma moving up beside it, and it got really hot and altered it, or it could be due to the collision of plates and all that pressure and force that smashed it together. Exactly. So you'll see all of those.
Okay. Okay.
And probably one of the most common rocks that you might see along the way is one that we call the Catoxin greenstone, or the Catoxin Formation. And that is actually metamorphosed basalt. So basalt's the igneous rock. So volcanism. Okay. And then the metamorphism is the result of the smashing together. And that's when Pangea was forming.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool.
So these are like billions of years old.
So the oldest you're going to see is about 1 billion years old.
Okay.
And then the rest of the mountain building that built Pangea, and thus the Appalachians, occurred between about 430 and 250 million years ago.
Okay. And have you hiked the whole Appalachian Trail, or section hiked it?
I have section hiked.
Okay.
And I've not hiked all the AT in Virginia, but I've hiked a fair bit of it.
Okay.
I even did some this summer.
Did you?
Only about 10 miles.
Okay. Okay. We what parts have you hiked?
Oh, I've hiked bits and pieces
All over the place.
of lots of
Okay.
it.
So
Here
we're
in
gonna-
Virginia, I've even hiked probably about 10 or 12 miles of it up in New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
Okay.
all over the place.
So we're going to try to do, this is ambitious, but we're going to try to do Damascus to Front Royal.
Beautiful.
That's going to be the goal. And we've kind of done a little bit of research. There are definitely sections in here that are harder than others. We're leading off with kind of the hardest part, which is down near Damascus and the Grayson Highlands. That part is no joke. If we make it through that, I feel like the Shenandoah Valley is going to be nothing.
That's right. You're training yourself as you start.
I know. Do you know, it's interesting because, reading about it, people do the AT in, they have preferences for the order. And a lot of people actually recommend starting, is it starting north or starting south? So you get to the mountains later, I think.
I think it's starting
south and heading up. Yeah. So you get to the mountains a little bit later, but we don't have that luxury. They didn't give me that much time off. So we got 30 days. And so we're going to start in Damascus and try to end in Front Royal. So
that's going to be good. You're going to see some great things.
You think so?
Some good water. And you don't have crazy hazards to worry about when it comes to the geology.
Really?
Just watch for falling rocks. But that's not too bad. You would see if there's some instabilities in the slope as you're approaching it.
That didn't occur to me that would be an issue, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about it. I think the only thing that might actually be an issue is slippery rocks. So make sure when you're crossing any stream bed that you really mind your footing, because that stuff can be super slippery.
That's a good tip. I did get trekking poles. Yes, good tip?
Yes, good tip.
Okay. I'm hoping that provides just a little bit of stability.
Oh, yeah. You'll be surprised how much that really helps.
So we've been training a little bit and practicing a little bit. And I will say, we did a couple of big hikes, 10 miles, 12 miles. And by the end, you are a little bit fatigued, right? And you just start putting your feet down and not really looking. That's when you get into trouble. It's not the beginning when you're kind of paying attention. It's when you're tired and you're hungry and you're not really watching where you're going. And all it takes is one little stumble.
Yeah.
And the trip could be over. I could be back teaching history from here.
Let's hope that's not the case.
Let's hope that's not the case.
Let's hope some little bumps and bruises are the worst that happen.
Yeah.
Maybe a blister or two.
Okay, what about blisters?
Your favorite thing is going to be your moleskin.
Everybody says
if that's not on your pack list, it should add it for sure.
So I got some socks. I'm a researcher of all researchers. Historians, that's just what we do. We can't help but dig in and research. And so I literally have socks that have like toes, like toe socks.
Oh, yeah.
And they're supposed to be blister resistant. So I've been wearing those in my practice hikes and so far so good, but moleskin too.
Moleskin will be a friend.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in a pinch, duct tape.
Duct tape. Okay. So I should throw a roll of duct tape in.
Yeah. This is a tip I learned a long time ago when I first started doing lots of hiking and getting involved in geology, but we would take duct tape and wrap it around our water bottle.
Okay.
So we weren't taking a whole roll of duct tape, but just taking a fair bit. And then
you pull it off.
And then you just pull it off your water bottle like you're pulling it off the roll.
Oh, you geologists are so smart.
But in a pinch, I've used duct tape to cover a blister too.
Okay. Anything to stop that friction.
That's right.
Like anything to stop that friction. Okay, that's a good tip. What other good tips do you have for me?
Although you're through hiking, this probably sounds really obvious, but take some time to look up.
Oh, that is good advice. That's very sweet.
So many times when you're through hiking, you're just focused on getting your miles in per day.
Yes.
And you have to watch your feet because you don't want to stumble and fall.
Yeah.
But it's important to stop and look up and just really take in the beauty around you.
Okay. And we'll do that. We have 30 days and we definitely, are on a calendar and a timeline, but I think that is really, really good advice. It's something we want to remember this, know. My sister and I have traveled everywhere. We've been a lot of places together. We were already kids together, so we've lived all over the country. So those adventures have been fun. This is a different kind of adventure. We've never attempted anything like this before, and so we want to remember it.
Yeah, you're going to have a blast.
You're
going to have a blast.
Okay. Are we going to be speaking by the end?
What's that?
Are we going to be speaking by the end?
You might have moments of not, but you'll probably be closer than ever before.
All right, that sounds good. So what's the one item in my pack? If I pack one luxury item in my pack, what luxury item should I take?
Something with a good playlist, so you get some music.
Okay. See, I'm going to reach out to Michael Sunblad. I feel like he could coach me on what needs to be on that playlist. I really do. I feel like music in so many ways, like, can lift you when you're down, motivate you. You know, there are going to be moments of stress, like isolation and stress, and I'm going to be dirty, and I want to go home, and I'm tired of eating, you know, Alfredo noodles from a pan, and I just want to go home and hang with Lucinda and drink wine and eat steak. But, you know, I think we know how hard it is. Everyone has cautioned me how hard this really is. My dad is an Army Ranger, or was an Army Ranger. He said, I mean, he thinks we're nuts for doing trying to do all of Virginia. So one of our geography instructors, so my department is history and geography, and one of our geography instructors, Jerry Golden, I mean, he wrote to me and he said, "You are nuts. Why are you doing this?" And he said, "I did that a couple of times. We through hiked the entire AT when I was young." And he said, "But I don't know why you're doing this." And so part of why we're doing it is, you know, this. It means something to be a lifelong learner and kind of putting your money where your mouth is. I really don't know about this stuff. I've been, you know, kind of peripherally interested in it. And I thought, man, I've got the greatest resources ever. Look at all these smart people I know, and they could coach me up and teach me how to do it. And then I just got to go do it.
Yeah, you're going to have a blast. You're going to have a blast. Okay. You'll get lots of great advice from folks who've done it or done parts of it, but also take the advice of the people you run into along the trail.
Okay, so you've got practical experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be your luxury item is the playlist. How about Kim? You got a luxury item for me?
No, not really.
No? You're just bare bones?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So you must be a very like Spartan minimal hiker then.
Yeah.
Because you didn't even want the snake bite kit.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Lucinda, what you got? I know Lucinda would have 2 luxury items, I'm sure. What are my luxury items from you, Lucinda?
You know, I would say a pillow.
They have inflatable ones.
Huh?
They have inflatable like pillows.
I guess that's the thing. You know, I guess.
Okay. Is that it? So a pillow for you?
I don't know. Because I'm thinking when you get there in the evening, your playlist would be good. Maybe a Bluetooth speaker.
So that's interesting that you say that because...
you know, they have those little 3-inch ones now that you can kind of clip on. Because I just bought one for my mom. It's like, you know, Bose and whatever. They have these little 3x3 ones. You clip them on, and while you're hiking, you could be, you know, having some tunes.
Okay. How about this? So some people, it's a little bit... I'm going to be actually teaching from the trail. People don't realize that, but one of the things about this is if I can teach from the trail, you can learn from anywhere, right? You should be able to take classes. I know we're in this new kind of distance learning environment, but if I can teach from there, I don't want to hear it. You can take classes wherever. And I will say that I had to do a little research on cell phone towers and tower coverage and what cell phone service do I have. And so it looks all clear. It looks like everywhere on the trail will have service. And I will say that when you get on some of the forums, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but people are actually complaining and saying there's actually too much cell phone coverage. Like it's almost distracting now because everybody has their phones and they're, you know what I mean? Like you're out on the AT, you know, FaceTiming. What do you think about that?
I think you can turn your phone off.
You're very practical. You're very practical. Yeah. So all of you are invited, obviously. Lucinda, are you coming out to hike with me?
You know I am.
You gonna spend the night, or are you just day hiking with me?
You know, I have to think about it. I'm not a big overnight camping kind. Like I need to get up and get my coffee, and you know,
you can bring a pillow.
If you bring your pillow at Starbucks, that's okay. So just make sure, you know, we'll camp by a Starbucks so we can get up and crawl in and get a cappuccino.
Okay, I'm right on top of that. I'm going to tell you there's a Starbucks nearby.
I don't know. I'd say good camp coffee with some grounds in it. It's pretty good.
Oh, Lindsay,
I'm not drinking coffee filtered through Stacey's socks. That's all I can say. It's just not happening.
Oh, That's funny. Okay, ladies, Lindsay, you gonna come out and hike for a day?
I would love to.
You would? Okay.
I would love to.
Do you have any classes that you think would want to come out and hike for a day or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a physical geology class this semester. And one of my dreams has always been to take my students out to the AT and do that whole, let's look at the history of Virginia.
We can load up a couple Thomas Nelson bands. Your dream might come true.
There you go.
All right. Zahn.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You will?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a commitment for a yes. So exciting. So exciting. Well, thank you guys so much for this talk. I feel like I learned a lot. I hope I go out there and make you proud. And I'll be sending back, I'll be blogging, and I'll send back a video and pictures, and I'm going to remember all these lessons and do the best I can, and I can't wait to see you out on the trail.
You're gonna have,
Good
it's gonna
luck,
be a great time.
Stacey. You're a brave woman.
Or stupid. I don't know which.
Yeah, brave. Let's go brave.
Okay, brave, 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 brave. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Bye.
Bye.
So, stop the recording. I have to do, that button.
Okay.
And then we can go on here and stop the recording.
Are we done?
So, when the